You create the problem.
Yes.
You create the problem through fear and feeling like there is no resolution.
And everything is therapy, isn't it?
Your resolution is beyond your control. It's going to happen the way it needs to happen. Just believe that it's going to unfold the way it needs to unfold. And your job is to move your feet. The first step, like I was saying before, is to acknowledge that there is a problem, but you also need to acknowledge that there is a solution.
That's true.
Because it's one thing to survive something, but the recovery, that healing process, and then being able to apply the newfound knowledge and learning that you have from those experiences is a completely different thing. And how are you going to ensure that you don't allow that trauma to define you and to stop you from reaching your full potential? It takes a while for people to be like, okay, I need to start doing something. I've gone too far. I need to start getting better. I need to start doing the work I need to do in order to be the best version of myself. But no matter how long it takes you, as long as you're acknowledging that there's work that needs to be done, that is the first step. Some people don't even acknowledge that they have work to be done.
So it's lovely to have you, Nidal. It's lovely to have you.
See you again.
Yes, it's lovely to see you again. So do you reckon you could tell the people and myself who you are, what you do, and where are you from?
Okay, my name is Nidal Saeed. I am from Sudan, both North and South Sudan. I've lived in Perth here for about 25 years. And yeah, I'm a storyteller, I'm an advocate, I'm a poet, I'm a writer, I'm a creative person. And I enjoy making connections with people and building in community.
I love that.
Yeah.
Seems like you are doing quite a few different things.
Yeah.
Seems like there's quite
wearing a few hats.
Yeah, for sure. Seems like there's a few moving parts. At the moment, out of all those things, what do you think is the one that you're most embedded in?
Probably poetry.
Okay.
And I feel like because that's the way that I express myself.
Okay.
But if you were to ask me what am I most passionate about, I would say healing and community. And poetry is a tool that I use in healing and community. So that's what I would say, yeah.
I love that. And you posted something on Instagram recently from what I saw, and you're running like a workshop for people.
Oh, yes, I am.
For drawing and poetry, I'm assuming?
So it's a collective poetry workshop. I'm going to be facilitating that on Saturday,
Nice.
4th of July, from 10 to 12 p.m. And it's just something that I've curated with Daring Different. It's called Amani Circle that I've collaborated with.
Okay.
And I'm going to facilitate this workshop in a way where you leave the workshop having a complete poem that everyone has participated in building with you.
Wow.
So it's for everyone, even if you've never written poetry before.
I love that. And thank you for sharing. I think that's very important community.
Yeah.
You know, we live in such an individualistic time at the moment in Western culture. So I think, it's a very foundational and a very important thing to do to bring people together in unity as a collective, as a culture, as a people, as one. We were all created by God. And since we are, that means we are all one. It should not be separate. So it's good to collaborate with others and bring people into collaboration and a deep understanding of self and the expression of poetry as well.
Yeah. I'm so passionate about that, bringing people into, just bringing people together and also opening doors, platforming people, allowing them to share their voice. I'm so passionate about that, about allowing people to take up space. And even if I'm not the person to initiate that, I love to assist and support those who are already doing that work, on a grassroots level. So, yeah, it's very, very time consuming, and you've got to be passionate, you've got to be committed, but I definitely feel like that's one of my values, just being amongst community, being of service to my community.
So you would say that you're quite a good facilitator?
I would say so.
For sure.
I think everyone comes into this world with gifts.
Gifts.
I think
Indeed.
that, one of my gifts would be that although I may not be the most confident, I may not be the most skilled person, one of my qualities that I have been able to accept and be very proud and appreciative of myself of is that I will put my hand up to do things that no one else wants to do. And I am passionate about motivating others to be able to find their gifts and use their gifts instead of allowing it to just rot or allowing it to go to waste. I like to push people to do their best. Yeah.
For sure. And I love that elaboration, that's for sure.
Yeah.
One thing that comes to my mind when you just explained what you just explained, it reminds me of the word femininity. Because I think that's such a feminine quality that you have. You know, you said that it's a gift, but it's also the deepness of what femininity is. It's like the essence of it. It's like a nurturing, frequency that you bring to an atmosphere where people feel heard, they feel advocated for, they feel all sorts of emotions of expression within a safe, facilitated space so people can just be themselves.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's very instinctive.
Yeah.
It's very embedded in me, and I do agree with you. It's a beautiful feminine trait, and to not only nurture that, but to create a space where those things can grow and blossom. So that's very close to my heart.
Good. And also something that comes to my mind from what you just said as well, or actually a question that I want to ask you. And would you say that through what you facilitate, like the workshops that you do and poetry, and helping people throughout that time of the workshop, would you say that people get to slow down and just like be reflective? Because we live in a world where there's so much moving parts. You know, there's so much distractions and so much things in the world, worldly things that are trying to elicit our attention away from our true identity, which is the God that's within our earthen vessel. Would you say that people get to recognize some things that maybe they've missed the point because of the things outside of that room?
Yeah, I feel like when you step into a space where I do the sessions that I do, I am so big on allowing everyone to be able to rest and be still. I start my sessions with affirmations. A lot of people, it's the first time they've come across something like this, and they find it weird. Some people find it uncomfortable, but I want them to sit with that feeling of being uncomfortable. And I find that once they get into the flow of all of us repeating affirmations together and being able to create that space of vulnerability, it allows everyone to be more authentic and themselves rather than wearing that mask and keeping to themselves and not being able to connect with others. I'm just like, I'm breaking that ice straight away. And I think it just allows people to freely flow. And that's the only way to be when it comes to poetry or healing circles. So yeah, those are the tools I use in trying to get people to feel safe or feeling comfortable.
Wow, touche.
Yeah.
I love that. It's very important to know one or thyself through being still. You know, one thing I noticed, I'm pretty sure I was heading to Dubai actually, or to Africa for the very first time. And I was on the plane to Dubai, and I remember I just sat down in my seat and I literally looked around at everyone. I noticed everyone on their phone. I was like the only person on the plane that was not sitting there on their phone. And then I sort of had like an epiphany moment, or maybe a revelation, as you would say, as, well, when do people actually just sit with themselves to feel what they need to feel? Because you know that we go through so much different situations in life where, you know, our emotions are strung, or we get heightened emotions through trauma, through heartbreak, through a multitude of different situations. And I think due to like what we're talking about now, the distractions, the mask, we need to remove that. Yeah. Because people tend to suppress things. Because there's so many different areas of life how you can just suppress yourself. You know, you can listen to music just to get out of your head or your emotions. You can go to the clubs, you can drink, you can go do certain things that might not really align with who you are because it's just a tool to numb yourself. Right? Escapism, yes. So I think being able to remove the mask or feel what you need to feel is definitely going to be very important. And that comes with feeling and sitting with your emotions.
Yeah. And you need to find what works for you. Yes. Some people feel like therapy is not something they're comfortable with. Okay, then find your own therapy. There are so many ways in which you can be still, let go, and reflect and do that shadow work. And people get afraid of those terms, shadow work and healing.
It's not a bad thing. No.
And no, it's in order for you to get to the root of your problems, you need to have those conversations and those confront those dark thoughts and unpack all of that trauma that you've been hiding. And it takes a while for people to be like, okay, I need to start doing something. I've gone too far. I need to start getting better. I need to start doing the work I need to do in order to be the best version of myself. But no matter how long it takes you, as long as you're acknowledging that there's work that needs to be done, that is the first step. Some people don't even acknowledge that they have work to be done. Some people are just, this is who I am, and this is how I want to be, so deal with it. Well, if you walk through life with that mindset, you're not going to be able to connect the way that you need to. And as a human being, you need human interaction. You need connections, because we're not individuals as much as this world wants us to believe in individualism. We're all interconnected, and it's so important that we acknowledge that as a society. There are people who are working very hard to divide us. And if you play into their script, you're going to lose your soul. And both physically and spiritually, you're going to lose yourself. So I make it a priority in my life to make connections, to speak to strangers, to open myself up, because as a child, I was very timid after dealing with the trauma that I've experienced. But in my journey of healing, I found it just goes a long way to just say, good morning, how was your day? And not just the good morning, how are you, just to get the response and to move on, but to genuinely try and listen, because it makes all the difference in the world.
It does?
Yeah.
I love how you just explained all of that, Tarek. That was so beautiful. Hey, that was definitely amazing. And like you said, not to go too much down the rabbit hole, or we can a bit. Of course, you said that there are people
I'm never shy to go down that rabbit hole.
No, not at all. That's good. You know, there are people in the world that are trying to draw and elicit people's attentions away from themselves. Because the way I look at it is that, you know, as it says in scripture, as it says in the Quran, as it says in a lot of different, you know, different religions, it says that the kingdom of God is essentially inside of you. So when people start to recognize that, people get to tap into the frequency that they're meant to be operating at, that they're meant to be vibrating at. But the people, like elites or certain globalists, don't want that, because they want people to be weak, docile, depressed, you know, just focused on individualism, like you said, and just focused on thyself as well. And you can definitely see that there's a big shift in masculinity and femininity, trying to put masculinity and femininity against each other.
Yes.
Right? You know, trying to get men into women, women to men. There's a lot of things like that as well.
I'm so exhausted from that, from that friction between the two ends of the spectrum.
Yes.
I feel like there needs to be harmony and balance, and the only way to achieve that is to conversate and to allow each other to recognize that we need each other.
We do, yes.
It's not them versus us. It's we all need one another. And as much as we believe that, okay, where there is a big divide and we're so different from one another, and I understand of the systems that are in place that don't allow us to overcome the challenges that we need to overcome, especially as women, from a Black woman at that.
Yes, that's correct.
I recognize the need for everyone, and I want to be a part of breaking down those barriers for everyone. So I'm passionate about that as well. Yeah,
and you said breaking down those barriers for everyone and people. What do you reckon would be some barriers that you could mention that people might struggle with?
For example, when it comes to the experience of a woman, I would say a lot of people glaze over the fact that we're so diverse as women, whether it be culture, whether it be faith, whether it be the environments that we're thriving in or not even able to thrive in, whether it be the voices that we have and how comfortable we are in using those voices, but also if we're even allowed to use those voices. Some women have had their voices taken away from them.
Yes.
And I love to address those barriers, and I love to speak about those barriers and also study them, and when I say study them, I mean like face to face with people.
Yes.
And not just
from a book.
Yeah, or not what I've read online. I like to ask people, how is your community feeling about this? What are you guys doing? How can I help in supporting you guys and removing those barriers that you guys are experiencing? Because I know how it feels like to not have a voice. I've had to fight for my voice. I've had to create a path and build those tables where I was not allowed to sit at.
Had to force it into existence, didn't you?
I had to make my own table. So
I respect that.
Yeah, those are the kinds of things that I like to address whenever it comes to conversations about women and even conversations about men. I have 3 brothers. I have a very active father. I know how important the role of a man is. I know how important that is to family and to just people and to society. But I also recognize the systems that are in place that do not allow women to thrive, and also the groups of women who disable other women from being able to thrive as well. Like
extreme feminism?
Yes.
Which is the other side of the spectrum that you're talking about.
Another side of the spectrum.
Yes.
Like advocacy that does not acknowledge intersectionality, and activism for women that does not acknowledge who I am, what I look like.
Yes.
And the things that I experience are so different from anything that other people have experienced. So if I'm going to be a part of any type of feminism, activism, advocacy, we need to talk about the whole picture. We can't be talking about just a specific type of woman. And it's unfair for some women to have a voice and other women not to have a voice. And you are only acknowledging a small percentage of women, and then also trying to paint a brush to say that this is what we're all experiencing, this is what we all want. Some of us are fighting for basic sanitary items and feminine hygiene products. Some of us are fighting to be in workforces, and others are fighting to be able to stay at home and do nothing. You need to acknowledge all of
spectrum,
our,
the whole thing,
everything.
For sure.
You cannot.
Otherwise, it's not fair stats.
Otherwise,
it's not good
exactly.
Metrics.
Otherwise, you are not being active, and you're not an activist.
Yes.
I don't believe that. So yeah, I've been called many things: political, controversial.
Doesn't matter though.
Yeah, I really don't care.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, what I feel and what I believe, my tribe will find me. And I just speak what I feel, and whoever gravitates towards that, gravitates towards that. But I do not want to be seated at a table where we're advocating for some people and ignoring and deliberately neglecting others. I will not sit at that table.
For sure. And I love how you said that you created your own table as well.
Yeah.
And you've got to speak your mind. It's very important in this world. Like, I mean, if no one's going to advocate for you, who else is going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Of course, you have God advocating for you. That's number one. You've got, your tribe, as you said, that will find you based on the frequency that you're emitting or the frequency that you're operating at. And like you said, the stats and the metrics here, the only way you can actually find out authentic or real stats is by looking at the full spectrum. Otherwise, it's just one-sided. There's a quote that I love that goes like this. It says, your perception on the world is limited by the boundaries of your own understanding. So the only way to be able to expand that perception of understanding is to understand that all perception is real.
Yes.
Meaning that even though that I might not be living the experience of another individual, even though I might not absolutely or completely agree with it, it's still something that they felt or experienced.
It exists.
So that means that it's still in their reality, and it's still truth. It's still objective in their reality, even though it's not in mine. But it's still real because it's a perception that they experienced.
Exactly. I totally, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So that's why you have to sort of get those, the stats once again and, experience, other people's expressions.
Exactly.
And that comes to what you said before, and that's by
connections.
Yeah, connections. That's by conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, those mindful and advocating for people and about finding out these groups of people that you go to and actually talk to them about their experience, understanding them. What are they fighting for? What do they advocate for? What are their needs? What is their pain points?
Yeah.
And then we can actually draw up something where there can be a proper model or a plan that can be implemented into society.
Yeah. You just said everything that I feel, so I don't feel like I need to even add anything to that.
No. Well, I wanted to ask, so you call yourself the jungle of spells.
Oh, yeah.
If people don't know what that is, what would you explain, what is the jungle of spells?
Okay. Personally, I believe words carry frequency. I believe words are intentional. And when it comes to speaking, I feel like it's as if you are casting spells. When every word that you speak carries weight. And so when I was writing in my journals, and I didn't even know it was called poetry at the time, I was just writing and all of my feelings and all of my thoughts. It was therapeutic to me. And the moment I found the confidence to share what I had written and the ways in which I was expressing myself through art and poetry, I wanted to establish a title that would encompass and completely show what I feel about using words and speaking things into existence. And I came about tapping into my spirituality and my faith in my deen, and I believe in all of the words in the Quran, and I believe in all of the things that are fundamental to Islam. And one of the stories in the Quran is obviously Hawa and Adam, or Adam and Eve, and the Garden of Eden. And I wanted to incorporate my ancestry, and I'm an African woman, so I felt jungle and spells are my thoughts and my feelings and my words. So Jungle of Spells is just a reflection of who I am and my identity as an African woman, as a Muslim woman, and as someone who is highly wanting to be at my best spiritually. And so that's how I came up with spells. I really do believe you need to be careful and intentional about the way that you speak, because it is a spell. Every word is a spell.
Yes. Yeah. That's actually something I was talking to a friend about months ago, actually, about how words are spells.
Yeah.
You know, I absolutely agree with you. You know, words are frequencies. And one thing I actually thought about as well, you know how we have names, Nidal?
Yes.
Right? How we was given a name from birth. Our parents gave us a name from birth. Like, do you know how sometimes people embody the meaning of their name, right? Because it's a frequency that's been uttered from the mouth that's very prophetic and profound, that the baby absorbs that energy. And depending on the nurturing of the mother and the father and the effort that they put in, they end up embodying the meaning of that name. Absolutely. Because there's so much different people and kids that I've come across where it's just like, you're actually the meaning of your name. You know, it might mean that nurturing. Someone's name might mean nurturing. And they're actually nurturing people. Because of the frequency that's helped formed who they are. Because when you think about, you know, science, and when you think about, you know, all these different type of, you know, things you can look at, right? Everything's based on frequency and motion and and vibration. It's not based on like physical matter. Everything's just moving energy.
Everything's spiritual.
And everything's spiritual. Life is spiritual. It's not physical at all.
I truly believe that. And you become what you say. You become the words that you think and believe. And I think recognizing that is one of the reasons why I've been able to be the person that I am. When I started recognizing the way that you speak to yourself inside your mind, you become it. The moment I started to shift the way that I spoke to myself and the gentleness that I spoke to myself and the way that I viewed who I was, completely changed my life. I had to confront all of my dark thoughts. And the ways that I was speaking to myself was because I felt what I had experienced in my past was because I deserved it, or because this is all that I'm going to get. So I'm just going to be wallowing in that pain and that misery. But something happened to me. It's actually meeting Jasmine, meeting Baby J, and obviously we have a shared experience with that, and dealing with grief and all of the things that were shifting for me once she passed away. May she rest in peace. All of the ways I started reflecting on my friendships and my human connections, I just realized like life is really short. Life is a blip. And if you don't take that power back and use the free will that God gave you, it will pass you by. You will find that the way that you move through the world is like it's like as if you're not living at all, as if you're not. It would be better for you to not exist if you are going to just allow life to pass you by. Why are you here? Why are you not using the gifts that God gave you? And when I started to think about that grief and the test that is this dunya, is this life, I was like, I'm not going to let life pass me by. I'm going to attack everything that tries to make me feel like I deserve pain or I deserve the trauma that I've experienced. No, those things happened to me because I needed to overcome them. Yes. I needed that to push me forward. And as much as I am a survivor of that trauma, I will not allow it to define me.
Not at all.
All of that stuff is so important to me. That self-development, that healing, that reaching a space of peace and gratitude, and finding the therapy that works for you and the tools that work for you.
And everything is therapy, isn't it?
Everything.
Some people think therapy is just going to someone and going to an actual therapist to talk about your problems. But going for a walk is therapy.
It is.
Us having this conversation is a form of therapy because it's an expression of what's already inside of you projecting out into the physical domain.
Exactly.
And I think it's very important to integrate with the parts of yourself that, that's the shadow work that you're talking about, right? It's the parts of yourself that need to be seen, the parts of yourself that need to be heard, right? There's parts of ourselves that literally just need a hug because we suppress it, right? And when it comes to belief, when it comes to problems, sometimes it's not actually just problems. It's just it's a belief system within your subconscious mind of a belief that there's a problem, but sometimes there's actually no problem at all.
You create the problem.
Yes.
You create the problem through fear and feeling like there is no resolution. Your resolution is forward. Your resolution is beyond your control. It's going to happen the way it needs to happen. Just believe that it's going to unfold the way it needs to unfold. And your job is to move your feet. Yes. After believing that this problem will be resolved, your job is to move your feet and not stay in that cycle of, oh my gosh, this is happening. Oh my gosh, how do I get through this? The way you get through it is by walking forward, step by step by step. And it's easier said than done. And I understand when it comes to mental health, mental illnesses, and the ways in which you have to begin healing. It's not an easy journey, but the first step, like I was saying before, is to acknowledge that there is a problem, but you also need to acknowledge that there is a solution. There is no way you can say, oh, I can't fix this, it's not going to work, or there's no other way around it, so I'm just going to be stuck here. No, there is a million ways for you to move out of that problem, but you need to acknowledge that there is first. Yeah.
That's true. I remember hearing something called PTG, which is post-traumatic growth. There's PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's PTG, which is post-traumatic growth. And it reminds me of what you said, because you said there's a trauma that I went through. There's a particular situation, but instead of you being swallowed up by life and being consumed by that fire, you use it as like energy, because energy was never created nor destroyed. It was only transmuted.
Yes.
Right. So you transmute and you funnel that energy into something that you truly desire. Like you said, the gifts, the power that you hold, what you can advocate for. Yeah. It also says in scripture, in the Bible, it says you cannot enter the kingdom of God unless you're like one of these. That technically means that you have to be like children, creative. There's things from your mind that you must manifest. So if we're not manifesting by putting what we have in our mind down into this physical world, what is life? We must create.
You must. And people are so scared of that word, manifestation. I don't understand, because prayer is manifestation.
Correct, yes.
And even wishing and dreaming, that's your manifesting. Speaking things into existence, you're manifesting. And it's not blasphemy. It doesn't go against God. In fact, the only way it can is if you don't believe that God is providing you with this power. If the only way that it can be blasphemous if you believe that it's not God who holds that possibility for this to happen. That's the only way you can say, oh, it's not in faith. It's very much in faith.
It is.
In fact, you need faith in order for that to manifest. So that's important to me. And I love how you said energy did not start or end. It transmutes, it transcends, it transfers. And I truly believe that. And you need to find your way, your state, and the form in which you want to move with that energy, and in the way that you want to shift with that energy, and finding the best expression for that energy. That's the only way. That pain needs to be transferred, transmuted, transcended. Choose one. Pick one.
Amen.
Yeah.
Hallelujah. Shukran. But no, I agree with that. I think when it comes to spirituality, let's just say with, Quran, with, with the Bible, with different contexts or, different religions, some people take it too physically.
Oh.
You know what I mean? I think there's a scripture in the Bible that says, to live by the Spirit. But it doesn't say to live by the Scripture, because to understand the Scripture, you must live by the Spirit, the energy of the word, because the only way you get revelation on that particular Scripture is by living in the Spirit. And that's when you get the proper revelation. And that's why I think that, any religious book out there, you can get knowledge from it. A lot of people could be reading the exact same scripture, but they get different revelation.
Yes.
Because God speaks to each and every single individual based on their circumstances. Yeah. So that's why life is very ambiguous, and it's not black and white as we think it is. It's not at all.
It can never be black and white with the colors and the nature and in the ways at which God has created this world. It can never be black and white. God is more than black and white. God is so complex and beyond what we can fathom. So explore those possibilities.
Indeed. So I wanted to ask, growing up Sudanese, what is something that's most important about being a Sudanese individual from your perspective, from your expression, and what part of your culture shaped you the most?
Oh, I think, so sorry, there's something in my eye.
That's okay, take your time.
Second.
Take your time. I may as well add this bit into the podcast episode as well.
Yeah, raw.
Raw, yes.
Rawest form.
Form, yes. No, you're fine.
And this is what happens behind the scenes when
Yes, no, it does.
You're a creative person.
Oh, it's quite funny. I saw your Instagram story, and you're like, oh, this is the dilemma that I was sitting here and I was like, oh, that's so funny.
Everything is a daily dilemma. In order for you to just be able to do the things you do, you need to make small decisions. Every small decision leads to the bigger.
That's the
bigger
compound
vision.
effect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, that's very important, the compound effect.
So,
I mean, a lot of people think that you have to be making big moves. It's like going to the gym, right? You have to go for 3 hours a day, but 30 minutes a day could be fine. 30 minutes every single day for 5 years makes the compound effect.
Exactly.
That's when things change, is because of the consistency, no matter how long it is. It's just about the choice and the decision to take that next step.
Absolutely. And I do want to acknowledge your question, but before we get to the question,
get to it.
I love how you said all of those little things add to that big impact, because it also happens with when we are like smashing goals and all of those little wins that we don't acknowledge, but we find in the end when we reach the milestone, we're like, how did we get here? Because we weren't present during all the times we were trying to attack our goals and reach those spaces step by step. And it really goes to show that although you don't see the big impact while you're in the journey, when you're on top of that mountain and you're at the summit and you look down and you're like, wow, I should have celebrated all of those little wins because they all brought me up to this point. And that is something that I actually reflected on this morning while I was getting ready to come here. I was like, who would have thought someone would want to ask you about who you are, what you do, how you got here, what pushed you, and what are the things that are the values that you carry for you to get to this point. I had never sat and thought, oh, wow, this person wants to speak to me, or because I've had multiple opportunities to talk to people where they've asked me my creative process, the things that I'm doing, and I answer them, and then I just don't think about them because I'm just answering through instinct. But today I reflected, I'm like, you wear so many hats, but you haven't had a chance to just sit and be still and be like, wow, I did this, I did that, and it's worth it to celebrate that. So that's something that I'm trying to learn to do now, because I'm always like, okay, what's the next thing? All right, what's the next thing on my list? What's the next goal?
I'm the same as well.
We forget
a bit of ADHD, just bouncing this next, like,
it's like, all right, we're done with that. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to be present in this season of my life through everything. So
that is a good point. Like, it's like when people say where you are now is what you've prayed for, but we forget about where we are now and what we've prayed for because of the dynamics of life, because of the chaos of it, about all the moving parts. Sometimes we forget that, like, literally a year ago, where we are now is literally what we prayed for.
I know. Oh, yeah, that is so true. And we don't, unless we sit and actually go through a list of what we're grateful for, we won't recognize that. Unless you sit and reflect, you will always feel like you're not satisfied. You always feel like, oh, why are things not happening to me? But the moment you sit and you reflect on what you're grateful for, you start to recognize God is really showing me that He's present in my life. And the more you are grateful, and the more you acknowledge God, and the more that you rely on His plan and His ultimate divine plan and design for you, you will forever be at peace. Because even when things are going wrong, they are going according to plan. They're going exactly the way they need to go. So yeah, when it comes to my heritage and my identity as a Sudanese woman, my parents played a big role in the person that I am. A lot of us refugees and immigrants from Sudan, something that was placed as a high priority in our lives was education. And before I even came to Australia, my dad taught us the alphabet using breadsticks. Literally round, you know those baguettes, the bread baguettes and round bread rolls. He would show us the alphabet, either drawing them or actually physically showing them to us. And that is the way we learned, I learned the alphabet. My brother was too young for that. And when I came to Australia, he was not present with us. He came later on, and I had actually, because I had moved here so young, I forgot about him. My memory of him disappeared. But I would say my mother and my father are the biggest influences of my life. And not only because of their priority on education, something that opens your mind. And I'm not just speaking of education when it comes to uni or a TAFE or going to institutes, but education through life experience, education through community and people. My parents are very active in my community, and not just here in Australia, but back home. And those are things that inspired me and allowed me to become who I am right now, finding the gifts that I have and my calling and my purpose, and using those gifts in order to give back and allow others to be able to tap into their potential as well.
That goes to show the importance of family unit, family coming together as well. You know, we live in a society now, once again, to go down the rabbit hole a little bit where, you can see, like, for example, let's just say a man's going to work, the dad's going to work, the mum's going to work, and now the child is going to daycare every single day of the week. And there's certain programs that are being instilled into the young person's mind. And it's like, well, who is the kid being raised by now? Is it like the parents, or is it by the system now as well? So I wanted to emphasize that because you said family. You said mum and dad being around, being present, teaching you, being there, to physically and spiritually, declare things in the spirit and also pass things on to you as well, and open a space for you just to grow and to form yourself into who you have to be, which is a part of your expression now. Yeah,
it is. And I love that you're talking about children, because I work with children. I'm an educator. And something that I've recognized is when it comes to this rat race that we're in, like you said, mom's going to work, dad's going to work, who are the children being raised by? that's where I find the gap is, because I tutor primary school children in my community and also in other African communities. And the gap comes from that lack of attention, that lack of support for your child. They start being raised by outside society and the internet.
And TikTok.
Social media.
Social media,
The reason why I find that so dangerous is because coming from the cultures that we come from, we're raised by villages. Coming into this country, it's survival mode. Mom's working, dad's working, trying to put food on the table, trying to pay the rent, trying to pay the bills, and the children are suffering. Being raised by the streets, being raised by the internet and TikTok, like you said. And that's where the gap is. And that's where those cycles begin, those toxic cycles, where once they get into adulthood, they're having to acknowledge the trauma, having to acknowledge all of those things that they've experienced in order to heal. It causes friction as well when there is no balance in the home. It causes friction for the family, the parents, but it also doesn't allow for community to blossom and go into effect, because everyone's focused on their little things. And that's why it's so important for me to get back to the roots of those problems and those women's issues and youth issues. And I've always found myself being drawn to groups that are focused on that. But it's such a shame and it's such a disappointment that people are there for you or for the goals, to reach those goals and those milestones and to say, look what we did. But no one's there for the vision. No one's there to stay committed and dedicated to doing that work. And I find that to be the most tragic thing, is because we all do have the passion to create those changes and to fix those that dysfunction in the home. But we're only able to do that as far as it goes in the systems that are allowing us to do that.
Yes.
Where we're not dedicated to pushing further. Once we find roadblocks, we're like, oh, well, we did what we can, can't do anything else. So they start to dismantle the community. But it takes us... It takes us to fight in order to push through those walls and break down those barriers. And it takes people and leaders and dedication. And that's what I'm searching for. I'm searching for people and places and tables where people are not afraid of hitting roadblocks and walls. People want to push through those walls and go further, no matter what it takes. So, yeah.
And interesting enough, everything that you're talking about, those roadblocks, those changes, seeing things change in a community, seeing something change in society physically, it all comes from your internal world, you know, and too much of us are being too attracted to the image, you know, to what looks good in society, you know, the worldly things, like I said before, you know, what can I do in my internal world to change everything and project out, because everything comes inside. Everything comes from inside. You know, that's what it says in scripture. It says the kingdom of God is inside of you. So I remember hearing a quote and it said this, it says, the greatest conquest is to conquer self. So I think once you conquer the parts of yourself through integration, through the shadow work, through the personal development, when it comes to these roadblocks, in your life physically, you know, you won't really struggle too much with going through that roadblock anyways and just crashing through it, because you know that you've dismantled that limiting belief in your subconscious mind because of the inner work that you've done, the integration, the embodiment of the true self, the expressions, the multitude of expressions that we have in our internal world that need to come out. You're freeing yourself. And also something that came to my mind is memory as well, because you said, you know, kids are being raised by the streets, you know, mum and dad are at work, kids raised by the system, they're having TikTok brains, they've been raised by, you know, the society, the internet, by degenerate things. They end up getting to like 25, you know, 26 our age. And since their mind has been under like control from the system, their memory has forgotten about the things that they actually need to work on.
Yeah.
So it's very important. That's why he said to be able to sit with thyself,
Yeah.
being able to journal, be able to be very present with who you are right now and every step of the way. Because if you're just too busy with all these distractions,
Yeah.
how are we going to have the memory to remember the importance of our integration, the importance of the work that, actually needs to be done in society?
Who you really are at heart. Memory is so important because memory even exists in our cells. Memory exists in generational trauma.
Epigenetics.
And yes. If you don't address those things that are happening in real time, that's where it becomes trauma that you need to heal from in 10 years' time, in 5 years' time, in a few months, in a few weeks. If you don't attack, and I'm using attack because I genuinely believe it's like a war,
Yes.
a spiritual war, and you have to defend yourself against it. If you do not go to war with yourself, you will forever feel defeated in life. Forever. You will forever feel you're on the back burner. You're unable to go through that barrier and overcome those struggles. You need to, as soon as something arises, attack it. If you let it fester and grow, it becomes a bad memory. It becomes something you want to hide in the back of your brain, and then it becomes that trauma. And it will affect the makeup of yourself. It will affect your personality traits, and it will affect the way that you move in the world. Memory is so important to me because as a sexual violence survivor, I'm so comfortable now talking about it. But the reason why my memory has been so affected, and I've found out just through therapy, is because it was a coping mechanism for me to hide,
to suppress everything once again,
to be able to survive.
Yes.
And it's like it's so important for you to reflect and document memory and to be able to have something to measure your growth by. Otherwise, you always feel like you're in the same place.
Because you're not documenting, like you said. You're not having the memory to know what you've been through and how you've got through that thing. Exactly. Understanding the concept of that trauma. I think, like you said, it's like, I know to be speaking in absolutes, as we both know. Like you said, when things arise, we should attack it. Because attacking you gives you now the knowledge and the equipment to be able to continue attacking more things, but also it gives you the knowledge on just the concept around what you actually went through. Because it's one thing to experience something, it's another thing to now know it, but then it's another thing to be able to talk about it and express that thing as well. And that's like the different steps and stages of actually going through proper integration is experiencing it and now knowing it. And being able to express it and teach others about it.
Oh, 100%. Because it's one thing to survive something, but the recovery, that healing process, and then being able to apply the newfound knowledge and learning that you have from those experiences is a completely different thing. It's not just, this happened to me and I survived it and I acknowledge it. What comes from that is the learning. How are you going to move forward after what you've just experienced? How is it going to affect the way that you move in the world? And how are you going to ensure that you don't allow that trauma to define you and to stop you from reaching your full potential?
That's why I like to say knowledge is potential power. Ooh. You know how people say knowledge is power? Knowledge is potential power because it's only power if you can weaponize it and you can implement it. That. Because there's no point of it living like rent-free in your head. You know, of course, once again, it's good to know things, but if you can implement it, if it's a concept that you know from the bottom of your heart and you can now, apply it to whatever situation it is, that's where the power lies.
Yes.
It's because now it's a weapon. Obviously a healthy weapon, not to hurt people.
Yeah,
but,
exactly. The negative connotations that are associated with like weaponry and
spells.
Exactly. Yeah. I want to take back that power of the words. The words that I use, I want to use them with intention. So when I say I am a warrior, I am attacking, and I am going to war, it is because I want to define myself and be able to equip myself with the knowledge of I'm capable.
Yes.
And I'm changing the narrative of what those words mean to me in real time, and being able to use those words as spells, like I was saying before.
Yeah.
And being able to be intentional with my words. I'm not going to let anything feel like I don't want to be afraid of anything.
No,
and
you should not at all.
Yeah.
No, we do live in a society now where most words or a lot of words are problems, because everything's about, equal quality, equal rights,
my God.
which is not too much of a bad thing. I do understand there are equal opportunities in certain areas, but there's a lot of things around that word, equal rights and equality and all these different concepts that, LGBT, all these different type of things that are coming up where if you say one little word, it's really hurtful. Or you're misogynistic, or toxic masculinity and stuff, or maybe for a woman, doing this, or she's a bad woman because she said it like that. But it's just the truth. I think, society is trying to take us away from the truth, because when people believe in lies so much through propaganda, through the media machine, through all these reels, through certain agencies and institutions pushing certain agendas, it's going to get to a point where the internet could say, the sky is green, and people are just going to believe in it. And if I say the sky is blue, he's a bad guy. He must
cancelled.
be a toxic, cancelled, censored. They talk about freedom of speech, but also when people speak about the truth, they're censored. All these made-up allegations made against them and stuff like Candace Owens or Andrew Tate or Donald Trump or Russell Brand and stuff. It's quite interesting.
I resonate with a lot of the things that you've said. When it comes to people feeling like they need to censor themselves in order to survive in this world, in this technological day and age, it strips away the authenticity and the rawness of life and the reality that we live in. Not everyone's going to agree with you. Not everyone is going to be on experiencing the same life as you or have the same perspective of you. And you need to be so comfortable with that. You can't go through your life being, this person did this and said this. Okay, what can you do to align yourself with people who can move the way that you move, and people who can work in order to stop those things from happening? Because there's one thing to be on the internet typing, oh my God, he's this, is that, or she's this, let's cancel her. But why are you having those emotions? Let's sit down at a table and discuss. Why are these things happening? Why do we feel disadvantaged? Why am I so offended? And get to the root causes rather than being so enraged. Because rage is only good if you're going to use that energy to create change. There's no use in being angry online and affecting your mental state,
frequency,
and staying in that misery if you're not going to move your feet to even make those changes. And
I've noticed a lot of people that maybe have these opinions that, that's controversial, that's bad. It's not even their own thoughts and their own emotions, essentially.
It's regurgitated.
Yeah, for sure. It's accumulative because, they see a lot of other people doing it. Like, I'll give two different analogies, right? Sort of like, for example, the reason Chris Brown is probably very attractive to a lot of women is because a lot of other women find him attractive. Does it make sense? So women find him more attractive because a bunch of other women find him attractive.
Because everybody wants
him, yes, for sure. Or for example,
so true.
This is not even an analogy. This is actually something that the CIA and the FBI did. They wanted to talk and teach about programming. So technically there was a teacher, which was an FBI agent, and there was 50 guys in the classroom and girls, right? 48 of them were FBI agents, and then 2 of them were just normal civilians, in the classroom. So the guy at the front of the class said, here's the apple. He held up an apple, and they all have apples in their hand. But the teacher said, this is a banana. The CIA agent, whatever institution it was. And then all the FBI agents said, this is a banana, when it was clearly an apple. But the 2 people at the end said it was a banana as well, because they didn't want to go against what the majority was saying because of, whatever, lack of advocacy, lack of strength, maybe limiting beliefs, maybe lack of masculinity, not having the disagreeableness energy that you need to sort of attack something.
But wanting to conform. Wanting to fall in line with the others and to assimilate, essentially. That is so true. It even applies to everyday things like relationships between people. And you find that there could be a woman or a girl that is living her life, doing her thing. Nobody is paying her any mind. But the moment she's in a relationship or the moment he's in a relationship, all of a sudden there's all this temptation and all the girls want to know how did you get this person who treats you so well? That person has always existed, has always had those traits within them, but it only becomes attractive once somebody finds them attractive and they start to see the way that person influences another person's life, and then they start wanting to be the same and wanting the same things and going after that same person. And I see it in everything. Nobody, when I say nobody, I feel like the majority do not feel safe to just think freely and be themselves.
Agreed. And that's why it's good for us to journal once again, just to have your own thoughts, to know your own thoughts, know what you're feeling internally, be strong and have a good foundation of strong beliefs and to stick by what you say. And also being able to stop and be like, well, actually, is this my thoughts? Or is my thoughts being influenced by something external, something spiritual that I didn't even know about, right? Because of the majority or about or maybe an entity or whatever it is, right? It's good to know that this is my thoughts and this is what I stick by and this is truth.
Yeah, allows you to measure that progress and that growth. And it allows you to look back and be like, this is how I was speaking to myself when I was in this mindset. And look at where I am now. How did I get through that? And you can reflect back and look on how you made it to this point so that you do not continue on that path moving forward.
Yes. Because it's like shedding skin, isn't it?
It is.
That's what something I went through a couple of years ago. I would say in 2023, I went through a stage of being like really uncomfortable, not in like a bad ways, because I was trying to integrate with myself. And I was looking internally because, as people, we like to tell ourselves the narrative of what suits how we feel, right? Rather than what's truth. So I remember in 2023, maybe those habitual habits I had, maybe those patterns that I operated in, and maybe they weren't really the best, but I wanted to confront those habits and I was starting to acknowledge it. That's the first step. I was acknowledging it. But acknowledging the trauma or the conditioning, the patterns, the psychological things that were going on was quite uncomfortable. But it's always going to be an uncomfortable journey because you go through a stage of what I would call it as shedding skin like a snake.
Yes.
Because you're tearing off all these bits of yourself. It's sort of like the death of self, dying to your flesh, right? Because you're removing these conditionings. And I remember my mate told me, I interviewed him on my podcast, shout out to Austin. He said, the unconditioned mind is the mind that sees its own conditionings. So when you start to uncondition yourself through intentionality, through acknowledgement, through certain actions, you start to uncondition yourself. So the unconditioned mind is the mind that sees its own conditionings. It's like what we spoke about, right? You start to see your own conditionings and the concepts of it because you start to uncondition yourself through that three-step page, that three-step stage.
Wow, we've unpacked so much.
Which is good.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to jump into, storytelling a little bit as well. A question that I've got here is, how do you honor your ancestors through storytelling?
Oh, wow.
How do you honor them?
That question.
Yeah.
The ways in which I honor my ancestors is that I continuously ask questions to my elders, learn about my elders, and ensuring that that continuation of heritage is happening. And believe it or not, we are going to be ancestors someday. So we need to carry that power within ourselves and equip ourselves with that knowledge, because one day it's going to be passed down to the emerging generations. The way that I honor them in my poetry. I honor them in the way that I dress, in the way that I love myself, in the way that I make connections with people and the community that I'm building. I honor my ancestors in songs, in dance, in our tribal colors and our tribal dress, and everything I do, every step that I take, I feel is because I'm able to exist through them. And this world is like, I feel like it works very hard to reduce us to all be the same, reducing us to one form of people. But in order to ensure that we're able to exist and survive, is to make sure that we're looking back into our ancestry and asking about our history and acknowledging who we are as people and not shying away from being different and feeling power in being different, in being African, in being Black, in being the way that we are. And African people, we're so vibrant, we're so spiritual.
Yes,
and
on many dimensions.
Yes, and the more that we celebrate that and find joy in that you are already honoring yourself and your ancestors and becoming an ancestor. Yeah,
I like that. Praise God.
Yeah.
I remember that makes a lot of sense because just being the best version of yourself, expressing yourself for who you are, and also finding yourself through this journey of life, which is once again so nuanced, so dimensional, has so many different layers like an onion, super layered. That is definitely honoring them. I remember one thing that sort of helped me, after, Jasmine, rest in peace to her beautiful soul, after she passed away, I had my time of grief.
Yeah.
And that's something you never completely get over, Nidal. Although I'd say that I sat down and I thought about the people that I knew that passed away, and if they appeared to me right now as a spirit, right, in spirit form, what would they say to me? They'd say, Jaden, you can't sit here and cry all day. Jaden, you've got things to do. There's a purpose that is bigger than yourself. You're still alive, so make the most of it. So making the most of your life on many dimensions and all these layers, it's like buckets. There's so many different buckets in life we have to go fill. That is just honoring them because they know, they look down, they see you because they live through us and we live through them. They can feel the expressions of these frequencies that we're tapping into in all these different buckets of life. Spirituality, mentality, financially, family, everything. We're just making sure we pour into all these seeds.
All those practices, in every way, even like you said, financially, those systems and like economic building systems that we
energy.
use. Like everything that we do in every way that we can find a way to honor them and to continue persevering their legacies.
Yes, for sure. And with your storytelling, where do you want to take it? Like, what is your vision for storytelling?
Wow.
Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, you're on a podcast now. Do you see yourself speaking on more stages, going to more podcasts, expressing yourself for who you are, people experiencing your awesome and authentic expression?
Yeah.
What is that to you?
Well, my vision for myself in terms of poetry is to be able to provide the safe space that I have always wanted, even as a child, for others, for other women and other children. And I see myself doing that by creating hubs and creating spaces and safe spaces in which people can come and express themselves through creativity, whether that be a library filled with books written by Sudanese, African, and Indigenous people, whether it be building shelters for women and children, whether it be creating healing circles, which I actually had started to do, and then it got dismantled because when it comes to building community, there's politics, it's not easy. Ego, there's pride, and also, like I was saying, people see the goals and the milestones and the glory and the praise, but they don't see the vision. And so when there is roadblocks and things like that, they give up. But yeah, so I see myself never giving up on those things, continuing to create those platforms and those spaces for people to exist. And I see myself releasing books. I see myself providing pathways to education. I see myself creating not just buildings, but land in which people can flourish, farming and agriculture and existing in a way that is communal, the way that my ancestors existed, and doing that in a way that still allows them to exist in this modern age of technology, using technology to advance themselves and not being a slave to that technology as how we see in this world today. I see myself continuing to educate children and growing in my education through children, because children teach me as much as I teach them.
They are our future as well.
Oh, they are the emerging generation, and they are going to be future ancestors as well. So I want to create the best space for them to exist and to continue on persevering. And I see a lot for myself. I see myself being a mother. Like that is actually
mandatory.
My biggest. I feel like it's mandatory for me. This is my biggest dream, and a lot of people don't understand how someone could aspire and have their dream to be like a mum or live at home and be a wife. But for me, my dream is to rest. My dream is not to be working and constantly moving and constantly having to build others. I want to do what I need to do with the gifts that I've been handed so that my own children can exist and continue on and feel freedom in anything that they want to do. Yes. And my hope is that I have lots of children, and my hope is to be married for the rest of my life.
You will be married.
Inshallah.
Yes, that's prophetically speaking into existence. Yeah. That's such a feminine thing as well, by the way, just wanting to rest.
Yeah, I feel like it is. It's so natural me personally, coming from the faith that I come from and the fundamental beliefs that I have. All women should be resting. All women should be allowed to have that relief and that softness. And
absolutely, yeah.
I believe that is something that comes natural to us. And that's where I want to exist. I want to exist in that gentleness, and I want to exist in that world, because as a Black woman, I've had to be strong all my life. I do not want to carry that title. I don't want to continue to be someone who has to fight their way through everything. As much as I have to do that now, it is not my end goal. It is just the journey. And as much as I am a warrior, I am also a princess, and I want to be that way. Yes. I want to stay that way. So that's where I see myself in 5 years, resting beautifully with all of my children and my husband, and in a space of community that I've helped build.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. And that's what I look at like a very good relationship. You know, obviously the masculine urge to protect and provide, and like you said, movement, a lot of movement. I think that is more of a masculine trait. What I look at as a successful feminine woman as being able just to tap into her creativity, that spirituality, being a wife, doing some things at home, drawing poetry, hosting workshops, doing all those type of things. Yeah. But also just having that soft life as well, and not moving too much as a man probably should as well. Yeah. When you look at the gender dynamics and how things have been for hundreds and thousands of years, of course it's changed now because of propaganda and obviously globalists have used certain tactics to sort of split that up a little bit because of the power of the nuclear family. But I think that's definitely beautiful, and you should definitely fight for that as well. Yeah,
I will fight for... I know that it's something that's why I don't I know I'm going on a tangent, but that's why I don't resonate with, I guess, traditional form of feminism. And I do not want to sit at a table where there's no intersectionality with feminism.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Because you're not fighting for all forms of women. You're not fighting for all of us. And I don't want to be associated with that if you're not acknowledging an experience that is like mine, and also fighting for me to be in my softness and being able to exist freely. And in this capitalist world, I don't want to work, and I don't feel like I should have to, unless it is to work in my community, unless it is to work on myself and providing spaces for other people to be able to do that as well. So if you're not fighting for me in that way, then I can't sit at a table with you. And I am very unapologetic about that. Sorry, you said something else I wanted to comment on, but I missed the the point.
Wait, no, it was about...
Yeah, we've spoken about a lot, so.
That's okay. So I can see that you've got a cool, interesting looking book there. Would you like to tell us about this book? And also you can point it towards the camera over there as well.
So this is this book is an anthology, a poetry anthology, the first of its kind in Australia. It's a collection of Muslim Australian poetry, and I'm very grateful that I have peers and acquaintances and friends who admire my work as much as I admire theirs. And I have a beautiful friend, her name is Vulma Firi, and she is an incredible writer. And she actually passed on an application to me and it encouraged me to apply for this anthology. And they were seeking Muslim poetry writers and just writers of all kinds. And I was selected. There was about, I think it was 29 of us that were selected out of hundreds of applications, and I was even shocked that I would be considered. The launch was in Sydney, and we went, me and my cousin. Shout out to my cousin Samah. And it's just a collection of not just an experience as a Muslim Australian, but just as an experience being in this world, existing in a world that is so filled with so much pain, so much conflict, so much healing that needs to be done. So I do encourage anyone who is interested in reading poetry or is interested in learning more about Muslim writers and what we identify with and what our values are. This is a beautiful book, and I love that it's called Ritual, because as a Muslim, everything we do is spiritual and is a ritual in every way that we move. It's a ritual, and it's honoring and it's worshipping one God. So yeah, alhamdulillah, it's a beautiful book. And if you would love to
where do we
find out more, on my Instagram, Jungle of Spells, there is a link in my bio that will lead you to be able to buy this book. You can buy it as a hard copy or digitally, and it's definitely worth your money. So
it's good. I'll have to give it a go sometime. Hey, for sure. I'll definitely give it a read. I do like poetry and I do like reading books. That's for sure. I definitely need to get into the habit of doing it a lot more.
Yeah.
Although I do like the idea of making or writing my own book someday. That's for sure.
I would be here for it, because I feel like you have a lot of gems. You have a lot of life experience that you can offer the world. And I encourage all people to write, even if it's just journaling. So I think there would be a lot of people interested in hearing what you've got to say. So
of course,
I encourage you to work on that.
I will. Yeah. So do you reckon you can give us a gem out of the book?
Oh my
if possible?
God.
Just one little gem?
Oh, for sure.
Just a little teaser.
Okay, then. Just a little teaser. I won't give you too much.
Yes. I do understand it would be good for people to go read it themselves, but just one little scripture or something from it, something written from it.
So if you are wanting to know what pages my poems on, it's on 104 and 105, and I submitted 3 poems in the application and 2 of them got accepted. So I'll give you a little bit of a teaser. To be wrapped in the eloquence of the sun and the moon, which move in precision, is a balance only his favors can supply. Everything is placed in divine alignment and follows a course, transferring, transcending, and shifting its states, adapting to the seasons of pure intention. That's a bit about what we've spoken about, isn't it?
Yes, for sure. And I like that. What I get from that as well, that's actually really beautiful because it talks about the impermanence of life. You know, things are always constantly in a constant state of flux. We're always shifting. We're always changing. So that's why we should understand that our perception will always change after time and over time. And that's why it's good to document our journey of what you said of like, okay, my mindset was like this at this time of my life. Now I've leveled up. Now I've shedded some skin like a snake. And now my mindset's like this. And that's why the documentation is very important.
Yeah, that shedding is so essential to life. That's why it's called the cycle of life, or the circle of life. You're constantly shifting into different states and different forms and different ways of existing. And people are afraid of change, but the more you embrace it, the more life becomes at ease and peaceful, because you're no longer afraid of the problems and issues and changes. You embrace them and it becomes a part of you. Yeah.
And also you talk about moving through the jungle of your mind as well. I know we've already spoken about a bit about the jungle. Although, what is something that you've been through that has been something quite hard to overcome within that jungle of yours? Within the jungle of our mind, the depths of it.
Oh, okay. I would definitely say being a survivor of childhood trauma and in the ways that it changed me from being a very mischievous child into a timid, reserved child, and it carried through into my adolescence and my early adulthood. And it was hard because it made me very afraid of embracing not only myself as a woman, because it stripped away my innocence and my values as a woman, but it also made me very afraid to use my voice. And it took me forcing myself to take back that power and removing that shame that I should have never had to carry in the first place, that allowed me to use my voice no matter how shaky it was in the beginning and no matter how hard it was for me to speak and to project louder and to be who I wanted to be and to share myself with the world. I kept pushing and pushing and pushing until now I'm able to freely sit, stand, walk as an unapologetic person because of the ways that I needed to heal myself from that trauma. The jungle that is my mind is because I am such a layered, multifaceted person. And
I like that word, multifaceted. Yes.
And depending on who you ask, they will tell you a different version of who I am because they were able to access a different part of me. And I call it the jungle because of that. So many layers of vines and greenery and trees and different different
I love that.
Different seasons, you know. So my mind is a jungle, my life is a jungle, and I embrace that, and I use my words and my intention and my actions to define who I am, because I feel like you know me as deeply as I show you who I am. And that would be the hardest thing I overcame, that childhood trauma.
And what were some strategies that you had to use? I mean, you said that now you walk unapologetically, you're confident in who you are, you project louder. What got you to that stage? I know that you do poetry and there's a lot that you're doing now, but were there specific things that you got up to sort of help you push through those stages?
100%. I started to reflect on my environment, people I was around, the opinions I was listening to, and who I wanted to become like, or who I was inspired by. Something that I had noticed in my reflection, as much as I journal, as much as I look into myself, I also speak a lot to people and friends and women. Relationships between women are so important. They shape who you are. And so the more I looked at the people around me and my friends, the more I knew who I needed to allow to leave or disable from, or denying that access to who I was, and weeding out and just curating my space to be able to be me. That let me flourish, because I think people put a focus on who is there for you when you are at your lowest. People put a focus on that, but I think you should put a focus on who is there for you when you're having your wins, who is celebrating you, who is praising you, who is sharing your content, who is congratulating you, who is giving you your flowers. those are the realest, most genuine people that you want to be around. Because anybody can sit with you when you need a shoulder to cry on, and they can sit in that misery with you. But are they there when you pick yourself back up? And are they there when you finally dust yourself off and you're like, I'm good? Are they also congratulating you for being good, or are they questioning you, doubting you, and placing seeds of fear within your dreams and your plans? Because that's what I found in my journey that I needed to do, was removing those relationships that were holding me back, but not just holding me back, but those relationships where I realized we're not going to the same place, and that is okay. So that's what I think that would be in my 20s. That was the biggest, my late 20s. Yes. Now I'm 29. I'm going to be next year going into
I didn't know you were 29. Hey.
Yeah, I'm going to be going into a new season of a new chapter of my life. My biggest lessons in being in my 20s was that the relationships you have with people and the environments you continue to frequent shape who you are. As a child, it was your parents who influenced your view of the world and the way that you're brought up. But in your 20s, you take control of the environments that you choose to walk into and the rooms that you step into. And it is so essential that you know and you are intentional about who you spend that time with, because you start to absorb those values and those frequencies. So if you don't rise above that, you will stay in that vibration, in that low vibrational state. And it took me a while to realize that. But literally, my friends saved me. My friends and the relationships I had with women really saved who I am. Yeah.
Beautiful. I like that. You know, environment is very important. You know, we've got to really orchestrate our garden very specifically, you know, removing weeds, like you said, you know, unbedding things, embedding new parts of your life, new people, new friends, new environments, and making sure you're just very intentional about that. Yeah. Because whether we're good and we think that we are good, but maybe we actually are, even if our garden is sort of like shit, my language, we will still be influenced by that someday or some way. Even if it's not now, it will compound. And every single day, like you said, you know, it will be a time of accumulating this frequency that is not for you. Maybe let's just say I'm a good person, I'm a young pastor or something like that, which I technically am. Or I am.
I love that.
And then also there is, let's just say I'm hanging around drug dealers. Even though I'm a pastor, and I'm hanging around that environment, I still get influenced by it very heavily.
You do. Yeah. Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, you will be influenced by that environment. And paying attention to that is literally how I was able to move forward and now be unapologetic. I was not unapologetic last year. I was not unapologetic until I stood up and said, I really do not care about your perception of me. And if you misunderstand me, I don't care to explain myself anymore. Because I used to put such a focus on that, explaining how I felt, why I was upset at something or disappointed in someone. At this point, you don't live up to the standard that I hold you to, because I hold you to a standard and so do you. You hold me to a standard. If we're not able to get to the root of why that standard was not met or why that need was not met, I'm out. I'm really, I guess I've reached a point where we're too grown to be allowing people to consistently disrespect, step on us, sow those seeds of doubt and question our integrity when we know who we are. We don't need to waste our time explaining ourselves away to people who never even wanted to understand us to begin with. So once I reached that state, doors started opening. So the Nidal that other people have been able to experience this even just today is so different from the Nidal that people had experienced in the past, because I was allowed to peel back those layers and stop feeling fearful of how others saw me or if they understood me or not, because I was a chronic people pleaser, like in a way that was like it's almost as if you believe you are worthless if you are not of service to others. And
which is very Delulu.
and
Yes.
it's very dangerous way to live as well.
Yes.
The moment I said, no, this is breaking my heart. This is too much for me to handle. I had to be at my lowest point before I said, yeah, the only person I care about how they think of me is God.
God, yes.
That's it. And if anybody else has something to say about that, that's on them. I really don't care how you think I should be or what you think I should be doing. I do things for myself and for God and to please God. That's the only people pleasing I will be doing in my life.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
And you technically just answered the question I was going to answer. The question was, what was the pain point of becoming unapologetic? Because usually when you have that mindset of, I'm not going to allow anyone to do this again, and you really have that shift, is because of pain sometimes, or because of maybe unnecessary BS that you've put up with for some time. Sometimes 100%. We have something that shifts us, is usually through pain. It's like diamonds. Wow. Pressure creates diamonds. What creates diamonds is pressure. Pressure's hardship. Pressure's disrespect. Pressure is gardens that you're, embedding yourself in frequencies that you've been a part of. That's unnecessary.
And they're cutting you like like you're a flower blooming and someone just comes and cuts you with scissors. That's what it feels like. If I was to pinpoint an experience that made me feel like, I'm done, I'm never doing this again, is subhanallah, because it was at a time where it was Jasmine's anniversary, and at that time in my life I was living in a home with someone else that I had considered my friend at the time, and it became so toxic to live in that household, and not because we went into it without setting out boundaries or rules, but because there was consistent and deliberate misunderstanding and consistent and deliberate disappointments. And I'm not saying just on their part, but also on my part.
There's always two sides of the pendulum swing.
Yeah, so and we weren't able to reach like a middle ground. And I felt like I have a capacity as a person to give grace to people that at a level that was completely disrespecting me. And I found myself, I reflected, I'm like, I'm at a point where I'm visiting family and I'm frequenting this space of sadness. And now today is a day where I'm spending time remembering a dear friend of mine, and I have to deal with this person's BS. And the way that it felt at the time, I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm here exhausted and completely sad and completely feeling like missing somebody who was dear to me, and you are here complaining about something that I have already tried to resolve, and it didn't make any sense to me. I'm like, is this person deliberately trying to break my spirit? Because I've already helped the situation, I've already done my part, and I'm not physically there to help the situation, but I did my part virtually, physically, spiritually. I did my part, and they're still saying to me, I don't care that you're at this memorial, at this, and this person, you're, and I was like, oh yeah.
I've had that before as well.
I couldn't believe it. I was just like, it is very clear to me that we have two different hearts. And that's when I was like, I'm done with that. And I made sure to sever that relationship because it was an accumulation of things. And looking back, I wish I had was more switched on to the red flags, I guess. But it was the best learning experience of my life. The moment I was able to weed that relationship and others like it from my life was the moment I started to flourish and align myself with God. And I would say those few months in that household was where I was like, I don't care. I've already gone against traditional cultural norms of leaving the house before marriage. In a Sudanese household, eldest daughter, you should not be doing that.
Until you're married.
Yes, it was a big no-no. You know, I already stopped people pleasing my parents. And now I'm in a space where, because I love relationships with women, I'm in a space where I held out my hand to help someone, and I created a friendship with them in such a short space of time. And I thought, oh my God, like, this is someone I can see in my life forever. And then that happening, I was like, yeah, I have a standard where I expect everyone to stay at and to be at. And if anyone falls below that, I will start to address it. And I will start to confront it. I used to be so afraid of confrontation and holding people accountable, because there are several moments where I could have confronted that person about the ways that they were behaving and the erratic and delusional behavior that was happening. But I didn't, because I was like, okay, they're going through something. Let me give them grace. But when it was time to give me grace, it didn't happen. So
double standard, like usual. A lot of people move with double standards. I also believe that it shouldn't even be a confrontation.
Shouldn't.
It should not be a confrontation at all. I think it should just be this communication. There's two adults having a conversation. And that's all
communication.
It is.
And I think now when I am communicating, I feel more comfortable doing it. But I used to associate that type of communication with, oh my gosh, we're not on the same page. This feels so scary. It makes me feel anxious. And that allowed that person to recognize, oh, Nidal's very uncomfortable with us not agreeing with things. And she feels more comfortable with just letting me do whatever I want. So I'm going to do whatever I want.
We train people how to treat us.
Exactly, you do. And now I'm training people to treat me exactly the way I deserve. I used to meet people and be like, I'm going to treat them the way I want to be treated. No, that was the worst approach. You treat people the way that they treat you. You with me, I give you what you give me. And if I am giving you politeness and respect and honoring you, it's because I truly believe you deserve that. But the moment I feel that shift, you're not getting anywhere with me, because I am a heaven for some and a hell for others. And I stand on that. Like
unapologetically.
Very unapologetic now. And it would be a shock to some people to hear me say this now, but I genuinely don't care anymore. Yeah.
And it's good to stand by that as well.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to express those parts of yourself. You know, the way I look at it is that we will put down to experience all different parts of ourselves, which is sometimes, like you said, the heaven to some and sometimes the hell to some, right? And I know that sometimes being a woman of God or a man of God or someone believing in God, sometimes we think that we have to be stood over and we have to accept things. But I think being a woman or man of God is also just being able to stand up for yourself and to have a conviction to, set really good boundaries. I think that's actually very important, because that's what God would want for you.
It is.
To express those parts of yourself in a way, of course, where you're not killing someone, but as long as it's healthy, it is completely fine. Because there's a part of yourself that wants to be expressed, which is a part of yourself that's authentic. Because if you're suppressing or neglecting that part of yourself, how are you aligning with God by accepting or conforming, to the belief system subconsciously or to other people's nervous system, essentially?
That's so true. And trusting your intuition. And trusting your intuition. When I speak of intuition, because sometimes people say I was following my gut and I was following my intuition, and I don't know which way to go, or they don't know what is their anxiety and what is their intuition. But I would say when it comes to something like believing that someone's spirit is not good. When when sometimes you have that feeling, you're like, this person's off. That is true. But when you have a feeling of, oh man, I can't do this. I don't want to do this because I just know I'm going to fail at it. That is your anxiety speaking.
Yes.
Your intuition and your gut feeling is right when it's something to do with this is a danger. because God designed you with that instinct.
Yes.
With that fight or flight, with that instinct of recognizing danger. But the moment you start to place seeds of doubt, that is not even you speaking. That's your anxiety. That is shaitan. That is the devil speaking.
Yes, it is.
That is your lower self and your lower nafs telling you can't do something.
Yeah.
But if truly if you really didn't have the capability of doing it, God would not place that desire in your heart. So I would say follow your instinct, follow your intuition, and continuously have conversations with God.
Yeah, that's good. That's very important. And I'd also say that your intuition is most potent when you're more healed. The more you heal, the more you align yourself with God when your intuition is more of a substance. Because I've had times where I've spoken to, women when I've had like situationships, so I'm getting to know them and we're in a situation and they've assumed that I've been doing something when I haven't, but it's because of their nervous system.
Yeah, insecurity,
insecurities
and attachment, nervous attachment.
For sure. Yeah, so I think the more you heal and the more you work on your personal development, the more you increase your understanding and capacity of your intuition. You unlock more doors of levels of your intuition.
I truly believe that.
Yes.
And also, the more that you heal, the more that you recognize how you truly deserve to be loved and how to be loved correctly. I measured that in the way that I recognized my love language changed. I went from being a very words of affirmation, like needing that reassurance and physical touch, needing constantly to be clinging on to that person, moving into a space of acts of service, being able to spend that quality time, because I need to tangibly see that your words and your actions are matching. The moment I recognize like, oh, my love language changed, I feel like it was an indicator for me to understand that I'm healing myself because I am no longer practicing those anxious attachment styles where I'm so scared for someone to leave or to abandon me. Now I'm just like, if you're gonna leave. In fact, I will leave. I'm a leaver. I am not afraid to spend the rest of my life alone. As much as I desire to have a life partner and mother and be a mother, I'm not afraid to walk away from something that doesn't serve me anymore. And it took me a long way to get to this point. So
wow.
I'm grateful.
Yeah. And even with the photo I showed you on my phone, that person has made me come into alignment with parts of myself that I need to learn about more.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because the more you get to know someone, especially when it's romantic, right? The more parts of yourself become exposed because we don't give those parts of ourselves that need to be exposed time to expand.
Yeah.
Because, we're busy being single and usually when you're single, you're doing your own thing, you're in power, you're in control.
Yes.
But when you sort of give up control through love, through a relationship, now there's more vulnerability, more nakedness around parts of yourself and wounds that you haven't really, attended to.
Yeah.
So I've definitely had some weeks recently where it's like,
it happens. And it's essential to your growth. Sometimes it takes for you to be in partnership with someone for them to point out those wounds that you even thought you healed from. And sometimes it takes someone to tell you how they experience you. You can't tell yourself how someone experiences you. Someone needs to tell you how they experience you. So I do believe those partnerships are important. I do have a very controversial view when it comes to dating and when it comes to...
Tell us about it.
Oh,
yeah, for sure. Tell us about it.
I genuinely don't believe in boyfriend and girlfriend. I just do not believe in it. Not only... not because...
Put a ring on this motherfucking finger.
Yes.
Is that what you mean?
Period.
Yes.
But also because I genuinely believe men are very intuitive when it comes to the type of woman they want to be with. I read a study that I wish I knew the source right now. It takes men about 4 minutes to decide if you are someone that is in a category of a life partner for marriage or someone they just want to play with. If it takes you 4 minutes to decide that, it will only take you 6 months to decide if you want to be with a woman or not, if you truly see yourself with her or not. And I know it sounds very controversial and it sounds very like, no, that's not enough time to get to know someone. Yes, it is enough time to get to know someone.
You get to know them within a marriage or in that deep relationship.
And you need to ask the right questions. What are you not asking that it's taking you more than 6 months to ask or to know? You should already know that by now, you know? And I love that it took you, look at how long it took you to decide that.
The second action, 2 days.
See what I mean?
Yes,
I feel like it's very raw and real because if you as a woman place a timeline, that's what I do now. I just say
3 months.
I'm giving myself a deadline. I'm not telling you the deadline, but I know the deadline.
Yes.
And if within that deadline, within that space of time, I don't see you moving your feet to show me or to prove to me that what we're building is real and long term, then I'm out. Because you should have already experienced who I am as a person, and the rest of that can be done through courtship.
Yes.
So that's why I believe in getting to know someone for about 6 months. After that, you decide, am I going to take this further or not?
Fiance or not.
Exactly. If you want to get to know me more, that courting phase, that fiance phase is going to tell you who I am or who I'm not going to be.
Yes.
And then when it comes to marriage, when you set foot in that marriage space, because the stakes are higher, because now you are completely devoted and dedicated, there is nothing that you will not want to address in person. You will not shy away from addressing because now there's more at stake to lose. So I completely eliminated talking stages and situationships and boyfriend and girlfriend. And I'm just like, straight off the bat, if I meet someone, I let them know straight off the bat, look, I'm gonna get to know you, but just know if this is not gonna serve me, I'm out.
Straight to the point. And I think it's important. I mean, what you're talking about is very traditional. It's been like that for a very long time, for hundreds and thousands of years. It's only now in Western culture and this new way of operating that, we can date and, casual dating and situationships.
Everyone's so afraid of being themselves.
Mm.
It's really interesting to me that you're not afraid to share your body, but you're afraid to share your mind. It doesn't make sense to
at
me.
all. Yes.
Like you are completely comfortable straight away sharing the essence of who you are and the cells in your body. But when it comes to your thoughts, your feelings and emotions, you find that hard to share and be vulnerable. I feel like it's more sacred to share your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. And it is harder to do that. And that's why it is important to do that first.
Yes.
And the body will follow. The body is always there. But the body should be treated as a temple.
It's sacred, indeed.
It's so sacred.
Yes.
Because you can harbor spirits within your very cells and energy within your body.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to be sharing your energy with someone who's going to be temporary or going to be degrading to you.
For sure. Don't want your energy to be tampered with at all. Not at all.
Contaminated.
Contaminated over time through, once again, I guess, staying in that frequency. But that's why being unapologetic and being straight to the point and, having some values that you stick by, good foundation like that will help you get through life foundation. No matter what you go through. Exactly. No matter if it's positive or negative, or it's up, down, left, right. Whether it's uncomfortable, you know that your values is what gives you an anchor into the physical realm of things. And so you can continue to push forward, striding step by step. And one thing I think that's such a chronic illness nowadays in dating and relationship is waiting for the perfect moment. It's something I used to go through, right? Where I would tell myself, once I've done this, once I've done that, or when I achieve this, or when I become this successful as a man, then I'll date. But what about building with someone just along the journey? You don't have to reach that time, because the thing is, you can never determine your self-worth based on what you obtain and what you achieve, because the thing is, there's always going to be more levels of the mountain to go by, or the next goal. It's always going to happen. You see men and women maybe making millions of dollars in a certain industry. Why can't they just relax at 15? No, they want 20, they want 30, they want 40. So there's no point in me saying, I'll marry or find a woman when I'm successful is because when I get there, what if I'm like, oh, I'm going to opt out of what I just said and I'm going to be like, oh, maybe another 2 years, maybe another 3 years.
Exactly.
I think it's a fallacy. And I think, once again, if you find someone, you should just step into it as well, even if it's uncomfortable, even if you're losing control. Not really, actually. You're being authentic with your heart and what your heart wants, rather than conforming to what feels good in the specific moment to, you know, to maybe be comfortable, you know, or to be in control, which is neglecting yourself the opportunity to be loved, to be seen, or to love and protect and to provide for someone. You're just neglecting yourself. And one thing I heard sometime was women marry when they're in love, men marry when they're ready.
Yeah.
You know?
I truly believe that. And carrying off of the back of not waiting until you're successful, or some people, they're like, oh, I'm not ready yet. I need to be here. I need to be there. You're forgetting that a woman multiplies and amplifies what is given to her. Even if you feel you are not at the exact space where you're even if you feel like you're not successful enough, if you are compatible with someone, and especially if you find a woman who truly believes in you, because there is no shortage of women who will be with someone even if they have $0 in their bank account. There are women out there who will do that. But if you find a woman of substance who believes in your ambition, believes in your vision, then she's investing in you, and she will multiply what you give her. I promise you, even if you feel you're not at the stage and you're not here and you're feeling like there's still so much more to go, she will support you through that the same way you will support her. So when people are afraid to go after what they want, I feel like they're blocking their blessings. And
Good.
Yeah, so I feel like because in Islam, we are encouraged to marry as soon as we feel we want to marry. That's why you have some people marrying at 21, at 22. Some couples are like 25 and married with 3 kids, because in our faith, when it comes to marriage, it is one of the ways in which you can complete your deen, or one of the ways where you can grant more blessings into your life. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when you find someone who is paired with you, it is within harmony and rahmah, which is mercy, muwadda and rahmah. And marriage in itself is a partnership with God. And anything that has God in the center of it is going to be a blessing. So even if you feel you have nothing, even if you can't afford a wedding, just get married the moment you feel this person is for you, because trust and believe the blessings will follow. You don't need to be at a certain age, like 50,000 in my account. And I know it's very discouraging, because sometimes, especially in African culture, the in-laws are asking, oh, you need to put down this much in the bride price or dowry or whatever, which is
that's a whole other conversation, isn't it?
it's so sad, and it's such a shame that they make you jump through hoops and hurdles, but it's only out of their love for their daughter. But whenever you're ready to be with someone, go for it. And even if it doesn't work out, at least you know that you tried your best at that, and at least you know you went through with what you felt God was giving you the signs to do. So
wow. Thank you for the advice. That's really good advice, and I know the people that are listening and the people that will watch will definitely appreciate what you've added today, that's for sure. So I'm getting to the last few minutes or so. Got some buzz questions, some quick questions to chuck at you as well.
Have at it.
So one of them is, what is something you believe that most people don't understand?
Something that I believe most people don't understand, Islam.
Okay.
I feel like when it comes to my faith and my deen, everyone has an opinion on it. But it's not until you truly sit down with a Muslim or even open the Quran, all of these verses that people love to bring up to attack Islam, and people love to bring up to say, see, this person is a pedophile, or this person did this. Are you reading the verses around it, or are you taking a specific line that might not even be in the Quran? It might be in Hadith, wherever it's from. You need to apply context. You need to apply historical timeline. You need to also ask, is that even a real verse, or is that a made-up one? Because there are people who are working against the deen in order to sway a certain, to go through a certain agenda and this propaganda. And really and truly, if people asked more questions and opened their heart more to learning about Muslims, then you would understand how similar we are to a lot of other faiths, more specifically the Abrahamic faiths of Judaism and Christianity. But we are one of the most put under a microscope because of our structure, and because we don't play in that department where
propaganda.
Yeah, because people are uncomfortable with rules, and people are uncomfortable with the reality that is Islam is a handbook for people who are wanting to be disciplined, people who want to work on themselves, and not just their higher selves, but deep shadow work into their lower selves. And when people bring up things like jihad, even not knowing that the biggest jihad in Islam is to work on yourself and confront your demons and confront the lower nafs. So when people have so much to say about Islam, I'm just like, please
go read.
And even if you're not reading, ask a question, or even what you're asking about. Have you done your research before you came to ask a Muslim? Because that's low-key, like, you're wasting our time if you're going to ask us about something that you have not even verified that it's a part of our faith. So that is something that I've been consistently working through. I am not someone who claims to be a good Muslim. I'm not someone who claims to be a
scholar
perfectly
or something.
I'm not. But one thing I am is someone who loves to read more and to be aligned with God. And whether I'm wearing my scarf or not, whether I'm in a space that is honoring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not, I will forever be a Muslim because a Muslim is someone who submits to one God, and I will forever submit to one God. So that is something that I believe is misunderstood, and more people should know about, is Islam.
Amen.
Yeah.
The reason I was smiling is because there was two different setups we were going to do the room.
Really?
For today, it was either this one, or it was either two sofa chairs, which was going to be probably a lot more chilled, in the sense of the aesthetic, right? Yeah. But I was thinking maybe today you'll be coming, and I thought,
really?
let me respect the Muslim woman, just have a table, make sure she's covered and she's got the table there and all of that. So
when it comes to, I love talking about my journey with hijab, because for me, when I cover myself, it's my identity. As soon as you see a Muslim woman wearing hijab, she's Muslim.
Yes.
And I want to be identified as a Muslim.
Absolutely.
I want to be a representation for my faith. And because I know that is a faith identifier, I carry myself so differently when I'm wearing my scarf, because I'm a representation of Islam. I'm now part of a collective, of a unit. It's my uniform. And so it forces me to be more responsible for what I say, what I do, how I move. And honestly, because I didn't grow up wearing hijab, and it's something that I've only begun incorporating into my daily life, I've recognized that it's allowed me to become a better person within myself, because it's forcing me to be responsible in the way that I speak, move, and the actions and the places that I frequent. It's allowing me to become a version of myself that I really desire to stay at. And obviously I'm constant fight between deen and dunya, between the world and the spiritual alignment that I know God has for me.
It's always going to be a tug, that's for sure.
Yeah, but Allah does not want us to be perfect. If He really did want us to be perfect, He would have created us like the angels, obeying Him in every command. But He gave us free will, and it's a chance for me to build on that friendship with God in a way that is more authentic and real and honest, and it's not fake. And I'm going to, when I decide to fully embrace the hijab, it is because I am devoted to representing myself through Allah and through the ummah that I come from, the body that I come from, which is Islam. So
wow. That's very beautiful. And by the way, I find hijabs very beautiful.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Is so beautiful.
It's very unique. It's very feminine. It's like, there's something about it. I've always told my mum this anyways, like years ago. I remember we saw a Muslim woman and I told her when we were driving, I said, do you know, that's actually very beautiful. There's something about it that's actually quite attractive. I'm not too sure why. Some people might say, well, actually it's not. We need hair out. We need to see more of the face. But I think a hijab is absolutely recommended from my perspective, and I think it's a beautiful thing to to stand by. Of course, Islam, it's a religion that I absolutely respect.
Yeah,
that's for sure. As much as I'm Christian, I think there's a lot of similarities regardless of the differences.
A lot of veiling as well. Yeah,
without a doubt. And as much as I'm Christian, and I don't want to talk down on Christianity, it used to be a lot more like Islam in the sense of the strong faith and what Christians used to be like, right? And there are still a lot of strong Christians out there. But when you see about, Christian nations, for example, like, UK and, maybe certain other Christian nations in Europe and stuff, now they're failing and not really standing up for their beliefs as much as they should to the propaganda. Once again, you see like LGBT, we see all these belief systems, all these things happening in Christian nations, like the UK or London, but what are they doing about it?
Yeah.
It does not make any sense. Like, that's why I respect Islam about how they would die for their belief.
Oh, yeah.
And that's absolutely how it should be.
Yeah. I feel like because Islam is, we see it as, we don't see it as a religion, we see it as a lifestyle.
Lifestyle, yes.
We see it as the only way to be able to survive this test of life. And when it comes to like the beliefs that we have in Islam, nothing is done through being compulsion. Nothing is compulsory. You choose what you decide to do, but there is this is the manual and the structure, right? And if you follow this structure, you'll feel best at peace. And I know people are very like I know people compare faiths and stuff. I feel like there is a very large spiritual warfare going on Christianity. Christianity as a faith is very attacked in this world, and I don't think people see it. When it comes to, I know I don't celebrate Christmas, but when it comes to Christmas, why has the focus shifted to an imaginary individual named Santa, and in Easter it's shifted to an imaginary rabbit that lays eggs named the Easter Bunny? It's just very confusing to me because people are forgetting the essential and fundamental purpose of those celebrations and those days, and what they meant for the Prophet Isa, or Prophet Jesus, who peace be upon him. And I feel like when it comes to Islam, because it came at a time where the other faiths were being how I'm saying attacked spiritually, Islam came in a space of, the books have been corrupted. Let's redirect the energy for what the messages were sent for, and who was sending those messages. And that's why our book does confirm the Gospels, and
it does for sure. And
the
Muslims,
Gospels and Judaism, and the Prophet Moses, and the teachings and the messages that he was sent to bring. So Islam is, as much as people say, it's like a fake, installment of a copycat. No, it's sent by the same God. And in Islam, we acknowledge that there are Christians and Jews.
Yes.
And we acknowledge that there are different faiths, and we call them the people of the book. And we believe it is all one book with different installations, because when times change and elites become corrupt and, like you said, propaganda and different agendas and those hidden puppet masters.
That's a good way to put it.
That's why spiritual belief system has been brought back again with the same message. Nothing has actually changed. The only differences are the perspective in what happened with crucifixion and also in what happens with associating partners with God or breaking down the relationship with God as if he is 3 in 1. Those are the differences.
The Trinity. That's the one
Those
thing I
are
always
the
see
only
pop up online.
differences.
Debates.
Everything else
yes.
is literally almost identical.
Because you guys also think that Jesus is meant to be coming back. Is that correct?
We do.
Yeah, for sure.
We believe Jesus is coming back and not to judge. I know some people have a misconception of judging the world on Judgment Day. No. We believe he's coming back to bring order to the chaos of the world. And we already see it descending into chaos until the day of judgment. And the ultimate judge will be God. So that's what we believe. We like the teachings of Jesus are so important to us. Jesus, peace be upon him, and also the way that women cover their hair and modest in Islam is because of
Mary.
And also
and the other woman.
All of the women who came from those faiths, and people don't recognize that. But it's like nuns cover literally the same way. They only show their faces or their hands and their feet because we are coming from the same devotion to God.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Amen. That's beautiful.
Amen.
So what is one of your favorite songs? What music are you into? Yes.
Oh, okay. So
yes.
I would say that I'm trying so hard not to allow music to take over my life and my routines, but music is part of my culture and music is part of the way that I express myself. So I'm trying so hard to stay on to music that omits frequencies that are uplifting and beautiful. I've been listening to, have you heard of Cleo Soul?
I listen to Cleo Soul sometimes too. Yeah,
she's
for sure.
Beautiful. And I listen to music from like throwbacks like Alicia Keys. I love Alicia Keys.
Lauryn Hill.
Oh my God, they were doing a tribute just recently.
I was watching that the other night.
I love Lauryn Hill.
She's my favorite singer actually.
Oh really?
Yeah, I love Lauryn Hill.
She's amazing. And I love Ari Lennox. She's a soulful R&B artist. And I also listen to a lot of Sudanese music. And also I listen to some like neo-soul artists. So I like Bryson Tiller. I like Odile. Yeah. I also love rap, but I listen to J. Cole.
Because of lyrics. Yeah, I love J. Cole. I used to listen to him all the time when I was younger. He's beautiful.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yes. And also neo soul and, just literally R&B is just beautiful. I also like jazz, actually.
Oh, really?
I listen to jazz, yeah.
That's so
just
cool.
Instrumentals.
I love instrumentals. There's so many on YouTube. I always put them on if I'm like cooking or I'm about to go have a shower. I like to put on some music as well.
And you know Neo Soul, I used to, around the time, I was listening to her a lot around the time Jasmine passed away as well, actually.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there was something in her music that was quite healing throughout that time, actually, thinking about it now.
I know, because she makes music that is like spiritual.
Yes.
Like Cleo's, it's almost as if she's in, like, most of her music feels like it should be in a church. I don't know if you, like a church choir, or I don't know if you've heard some of her songs that they just feel like it's a worship song. Yeah. It's beautiful.
I agree with you on that as well. And with music, there was a time where I literally stopped listening to music.
Wow.
Well, I was listening to music, but I didn't listen to music with words in it because of the importance. Yeah, just instrumentals.
Intentional.
Because of the importance of programming. Because of the importance of frequencies that are uttered from music artists that don't really preach good things.
Yeah.
Right? Because you look at music nowadays and you see that what the most men listen to. They listen to music that talks about drugs, about sex, about mistreating women, about treating them like objects, whatever it is. And then you listen to like what the music, the woman side of things, it's like Cardi B, Sexy Red, Shake Up Mask, Be a Hoe, Take That Nigga's Money, Fuck Niggas, Mind My Language, all of that.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on.
It's a lot going on, yeah. So I sort of, took myself away from that type of music, which I wasn't really listening to anyways. But I thought just instrumentals, because it allows you to get into a creative like mindset, if that makes sense. If I'm driving and listening to instrumental music, it allows my mind just to flow. All different type of concepts. You get to control the narrative of what you're thinking more because of the instrumentals.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, because sometimes lyrics cause you to think about different memories and trigger different emotions.
Yeah, correct.
So I do agree, putting on instrumentals, letting your mind be free and take its own path and be in control, like you said, is so beautiful. And I do want to get into that type of music, because I want to step away from the type of music that I've been around lately. And that's why I know I'm bringing it back to Islam, but even in Islam, music is actually considered something of a distraction, a temptation. It takes you away from your faith because of the frequencies and the lyrics, and it's only certain type of music that's allowed in Islam, and most of it is to do with instrumentals, actually. So, yeah, I do agree with that.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I've got a last question for you.
For sure. Hit me.
If you were to die today, what would be the last message that you would leave with the world?
La ilaha illallah. So there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is only one God. And I want that to be the last words I utter on this earth. The reason why I will bring the message back to God is because really and truly this life that I've lived, that we're all living, is not real. It is a simulation by God. It is a test. And the message that I want to leave behind for my children or emerging generations is to use this test wisely. So that's why I bring it back to God. If I can just utter those words, they will understand that, bringing it back to living a life of purpose and alignment with God. And that is the message I want to, and the legacy I want to leave in this life, honestly. Yeah.
I definitely agree with you.
Yeah.
That is for sure. I just wanted to also say, out of my own appreciation and out of the appreciation of Beyond Boundaries, you coming on, it's it's amazing to have you here as well. I definitely enjoyed the conversation.
I did
and it'll be good to catch up sometime as well. I'm sure with the family we'll all get together sometime soon anyways.
Hopefully.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, God bless you. And it was a pleasure having you on.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. It was amazing.
It's my absolute pleasure.